everyone. It's an honor to be here today with so many incredible business leaders from across the state of Texas. I'm Liz Hocker, and I'm the Managing Director of New Listings and Capital Markets at NASDAQ. I live in Austin, Texas. However, I work with private companies throughout the Southwest United States on their path to the public markets. There is no doubt that going public is an extraordinary event that represents a major milestone for a company. There are currently 452 public companies headquartered in Texas, and that number is rapidly climbing. We are having an incredible year for Texas listings here. In fact, in Texas alone, there have been 36 IPOs so far this year, raising $10.3 billion. In contrast, last year, which was another record-breaking year in Texas, we had a total of 30 IPOs, raising $6.6 billion. Also, I would like to highlight that so far, the largest IPO of a U.S.-based company in 2021 was right here in Texas. Bumble in Austin, Texas went public in February and raised $2.1 billion. Now, as you may know, there are several ways companies go public: a traditional IPO, a direct listing, or a special purpose acquisition corporation, otherwise known as a SPAC. Today, I'm very pleased to be sitting here with a SPAC expert, CEO Scott Leonard. Scott is based in Dallas and formed Sustainable Opportunities Acquisition Corporation in 2020, and just last week rang the bell at NASDAQ to celebrate the completion of his SPAC combination with The Metals Company, now trading under the ticker symbol, NASDAQ ticker symbol, TMC. So Scott, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Well, Liz, it's great to see you, and it's great to be amongst such a distinguished group, and just welcome to everybody. We were one of those 30 companies that went public last year, and as you know, we ran a SPAC. It was a $300 million SPAC, and our SPAC was focused on ESG opportunities, looking for companies that had the E in environmental, the S in their social commitments, and the G in terms of good governance to back and to get them capital. We couldn't be more excited that we were able to take the Metals Company and give it our ticker and move it to the NASDAQ, which we think is the premier exchange in America and throughout the world.
Well, thanks, Scott. We were so honored to have you all at MarketSite last week and ringing the opening bell, or the bell at NASDAQ. And tell me a little bit about your background and why you decided to form a SPAC.
Sure. Well, a few things. One, I've been in Texas for 25 years and don't ever plan to leave. It's a fantastic place, and it's such a great business environment. You have so many different people with wonderful educations and hard work drive and real effort to put into growing our economy. You've got a great government and a great regulatory regime for operating businesses here. And the company I was with before we formed the SPAC, we actually relocated from Princeton, New Jersey to Dallas. So we really do believe in bringing businesses into this economy because you can find the right workforce, you can find the right capital, the right set of opportunities. We wanted to raise a SPAC because we think there's not enough capital going into ESG ideas that are non-traditional. And so we worked tirelessly, looked at over 100 different opportunities over the course of about a year to find a company that we really thought exhibited the principles that we think are critical for a carbon-free economy. And that's the Metals Company. It's a really cool company in the sense that they have access to a very large deposit of the metals that you need to make a car battery. Nickel, copper, cobalt, manganese, all of these sit in a rock formation that the company has exclusive development rights to. And we think that company not only will do well for our shareholders, but at the same time will help us enable a carbon-free future and do it in a way that's good for the planet.
That's amazing. So I can't imagine the path that you must have taken in order to even find the Metals Company. Tell me a little bit about what that was like, taking, first of all, SPAC public, and then the journey you went through and the number of companies you must have spoken with to get to the Metals Company. What was that path like?
I mean, look, I think of the SPAC process as similar to any other type of investing process, and that underwriting the investment is the most important thing you can do. We want our shareholders to make money for the long term. And so we met a lot of great companies, some in Texas, some that we hoped would be in Texas. But we met a lot of companies. We used bankers that we knew. We used direct outreach to companies. And we're talking about their business and their plan and their management team and what they could do with additional capital that we could bring to the table. And for us, we not only got the chance to meet some great companies, but we also put in place a lot of screening requirements to find the business that we thought was just right for us and for our mission and our shareholders. And that's That process took about a year, a little bit less to find the company, and it took us about another 6 months to close the deal from the time we announced it. And a great process.
So along that path, tell me, what were some lessons learned? Were there any surprises, good or bad, that you might want to share about the SPAC process and identifying the metals company? And
no, it's a great question. I mean, look, I think there were surprises at every step of the way, in part because the SPAC market exploded from the time we went public. At the time that we made our listing, I think there were fewer than 100 active SPACs of significant size out there. And by the time we closed our deal, there were, I think, over 500 SPACs out there looking for targets. So with over a few $100 billion to put to work, the market changed dramatically, both in terms of how deals were structured, how valuations were set, and the types of companies that were actually going public via SPAC. We think it's a great tool for traditional companies and for emerging growth companies, because the SPAC allows companies to get into the capital markets quickly to understand if they can transact at a valuation that would be compelling for them and their shareholders. And you get the chance to, in addition to just getting out there in public and raising capital, it is a merger. And so when a company merges with a SPAC partner, they get to set the terms of that merger and bring it out in a way that works for the company and works for our investors.
Well, it certainly does. And I feel like, a lot of companies feel like going the route of a SPAC is easier than a traditional IPO. Would you agree with that?
I mean, I think, nothing in this world like that is easy, but I think it has real compelling advantages. I think time, I think price discovery, I think the ability to set your capital terms in a way that's right for you are real differentiating factors. And I think it's easier to accomplish what you really want to set out to achieve. Mm-hmm. I think there's real value there. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, people want the lowest cost of capital possible. And if you're a CFO or a CEO or a board, you're always thinking about how can I lower the cost of capital that I have to access. And we think the SPAC vehicle gives people an incredible chance to discover what that cost of capital is and to do it in a way that's good for our investors and the company that we're merging with.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So just going back to the idea of the work that you've done in the past and bringing business to Texas. So tell us a little bit more about why you chose Texas and some of the other reasons why you ended up forming the SPAC here in Texas.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, I alluded to it a little bit earlier, but I think the access to talented professionals and to talented individuals who want to work hard, do well for their families, do well for their communities, and do it in a responsible way. There's nowhere better to find that than the great state of Texas. And I've had the fortune of working with great companies and great organizations, and I'm always amazed at how good and dedicated the people are. And I said it earlier as well, the regulatory environment in the state is second to none. We have a very constructive and very thoughtful set of people that lead our state and make it easy to do business here and easy to bring business here. And look, from our perspective, that lack of regulation and the access to lots of really good talent made this the perfect place to start a SPAC, the perfect place to go public, the perfect place to start a new business. A great tax environment, not a lot of regulatory handcuffs, and a set of people that you love working with. Does it get any better than that?
Absolutely not. Now thinking about, you just did this enormous endeavor. You created a SPAC, you went through the business combination with them, you rang the bell at NASDAQ last week.
What a fun time.
Yeah.
I got to say, it's like one of those bucket list items. If you haven't done it, ringing the bell at NASDAQ is fantastic. Your team just put on a fantastic opportunity for us. We really appreciate it. And, it's worth noting, I'll just bring it up. We went public on a different exchange with the New York Stock Exchange, nice people. But I was so impressed with what NASDAQ brought to the table. You and your team, all the way up to the highest levels of your organization, started developing a relationship with us before we went public. And the service, the profile, the opportunities, it really is amazing. And if you think about the NASDAQ, it has the most valuable companies in the world, and it has the most capital of any equity capital market sitting there. And to have people that court you and really try to help you along that process, that become friends, I think the NASDAQ was a great decision for us.
Well, thank you so much. We work very hard every single day to make all of our listed companies feel that way. And so tell me, what's next? Are you going after another SPAC? Are you going to be our serial
I'm not
SPACer?
We'll keep the sequel discussion on ice. We haven't figured out, what we're going to do to 100% next. The market, as you said, is highly evolving for SPACs. Lots of different SPACs out there. We think it's a fantastic product. And look, you may see us come into the market with another one.
All right, I can't wait. Well, thank you very much for your time today. Really appreciate it, Scott. And again, thank you, YTexas, for having us here to talk about the SPAC journey and the capital markets.